Well, you're here because you filled out a survey about a guy and he scored a C. In many important ways, this guy is falling short. Welcome to the Strong Brew, where you get answers to questions you're not supposed to ask. These are some things you may want to know about the man in your life. If you do really well in your career, will he become insecure? Will he try and use money to control you? Will he share housework or just make you do it all? In fights, when he gets angry, does he get aggressive? During intimacy, does he understand that no means no? Is he jealous, suspicious, or possessive? Will his attitude towards you change after having kids? Will he treat your parents with respect? What if you have conflicts with his parents? We tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. These are things nobody else will tell you, things that are important for your future. This is a safe space for truth. No judgment, no platitudes, no login, no payment either. Our questions are from real life, but our answers come from science. Now, I built this thing, me and my husband, and honestly, we built it and we live it. We are both Stanford grads, we both have worked at Google, and we've been happily together since 1998. Along the way, we've added a son, now 13, and 4 dogs. We are genuine folks. If you're a woman trying to understand any man in your life, here is how it works. Go to www.thestrongbrew.life. Click on the Understand a Guy button there. Answer 10 questions about him. Watch a video tailored to your guy. That's all there is to it. It is completely anonymous, no login, no payment, no games, no manipulation. This analysis is obtained by combining solid trait psychology with cutting edge AI ML. We represent each person's personality with what is known as a feature vector. This has 10 elements, so our data is effectively 10 dimensional data. In case you're wondering how we can infer so much from just 10 questions, well, 10 dimensional data is very complex. There is a lot you can learn from that level of detail.
Okay, I think that does it for the preamble. Now let's plunge in. Let's start with this guy in his career. Will he go far or just talk big?
He's full of energy and not afraid to aim high, but he often struggles to stay steady on one track. While he will work hard, his habit of jumping from one thing to another can make it hard for him to climb all the way to the top. If he finds something that truly excites him and manages to stick with it, he can do well.
Can he bounce back from failure?
When things go wrong at work, he doesn't get easily shaken or overwhelmed. He can keep his cool and won't make a big scene, but he does like to pull away and deal with things on his own. You won't see him giving up, but he might avoid talking about what's bothering him.
What do people at work think of him? Do they like him?
He doesn't go out of his way to make friends at work, and you might notice that people find him a bit blunt or difficult. He can come across as direct and not very kind, so some teammates might feel hurt by his words or actions. People are more likely to respect his hard work than to actually like him or feel close to him.
If you do really well in your career, will he become insecure?
He's usually focused on his own path and doesn't worry much about what others, including you, are achieving. He isn't likely to feel jealous or threatened by your success, but don't expect him to shower you with praise or celebrate your wins either. He won't pull you down, but he won't lift you up much either. It's more of a neutral stance.
What if you start earning more than him?
He probably won't feel insecure or start resenting you just because you earn more. He's too focused on his own world. He is confident in himself and doesn't base his worth on how much you bring in. However, don't expect him to be enthusiastic or extra proud of you either.
Next, let's talk about how he is with money. Does he overspend? Is he reckless with money?
He isn't very careful with money and tends to spend on things that catch his eye or bring excitement. Planning or sticking to a budget is not his strong point, so you might see him making impulsive purchases, especially on hobbies or things he finds beautiful. You might have to take the lead when it comes to keeping finances on track.
Does he show off and pretend to be richer than he is?
He is likely to live a little beyond his means, especially if something excites him or feels important in the moment. He doesn't pay much attention to planning or sticking to limits, so there's a risk of him spending on things to look good or feel successful. even if the bank balance says otherwise. He doesn't exactly pretend to be rich, but sometimes he acts like money isn't a problem, which can lead to trouble later.
Is he too generous, too stingy, or just right?
He isn't known for being especially generous or kind, either with money or with his attitude. He's not the type to go out of his way to help others or offer support when someone is struggling. If you value warmth, kindness, or generosity in a partner, you may find him lacking in these important ways.
Will he use money to try and control you?
He isn't the secretive or controlling type when it comes to money, but he's also not very open or careful about sharing details. He might forget to mention what he spent or simply not think about discussing finances at all. If you ask him directly, he will usually tell you, but you may need to check in often to know what's really going on.
Let's see how this guy is with sharing housework. Will he share housework or just make you do it?
He isn't the type to naturally jump in and help with housework and may not see it as his responsibility unless you clearly ask. He doesn't organize his surroundings much and might not notice messes or chores piling up. Without guidance, you might end up carrying most of the load at home.
Will he help you or just boss you around and tell you what to do?
He's unlikely to step in and really take charge with chores or baby duties unless you specifically ask him. He's not naturally tuned into these needs and may not even notice when something needs to be done around the house. Instead of jumping in, he might just watch or give his opinion, thinking that's enough.
Now let's see about how this guy is during fights. In fights, does he try to understand your views or just win the fight?
He doesn't put much effort into understanding your feelings or seeing things from your side. Instead of really listening, he might quickly argue his point or just let the conversation drop without caring much about how you feel. He's more focused on what he thinks is right and not very tuned into your emotions.
Does he become aggressive when angry?
When he's angry, he doesn't usually explode or get loud, but he can become cold and distant. He's not the type to yell or be physically aggressive, but his words may come out blunt or even a bit harsh without much care for your feelings. He might walk away or stop talking altogether, leaving you to deal with the silence.
Does he have a bad temper?
He does not get angry very quickly. He tends to keep his cool and doesn't lose his temper easily. Sudden outbursts or yelling are not common with him. However, just because he isn't quick to anger doesn't mean everything is perfect.
Will he say sorry and accept his mistakes?
He finds it hard to say sorry or admit when he's wrong. Rather than taking responsibility, he's more likely to go silent, change the subject, or act as if nothing happened. Sometimes he might even act like the problem is yours, not his.
Next, let's talk about intimacy and physical chemistry. During intimacy, does he respect your boundaries? Does he get that no means no?
He tends to focus on what he wants and may not be very sensitive to your feelings or limits at first. He isn't harsh or forceful, but he can be a bit thoughtless and might push for what he wants without noticing your discomfort. If your boundaries are clear, he is unlikely to fight them, but don't expect much empathy or understanding behind his actions.
If you are not in the mood for intimacy, will he react badly?
He isn't very sensitive to emotions, so if you're not in the mood for intimacy, he may not take it deeply personally, but he could seem distant or confused. He's more likely to shrug it off or ignore the issue rather than feel hurt or rejected. At the same time, he might not ask how you feel or try to understand your reasons. He just moves on to his own interests without much discussion.
Can you trust him not to shame you or share your private moments, maybe love letters, photos, or videos, even after a breakup or a bad fight?
You don't need to worry about him using your private moments to hurt or embarrass you later. He isn't the type to share your secrets or make you feel small about your intimacy together. You can trust that your private experiences will stay private with him.
Is he loyal or is he likely to want to have affairs?
He likes excitement and new things, which means he can sometimes be tempted by attention from other women, especially if he feels bored or things at home become routine. He isn't openly flirtatious all the time, but you may notice his eyes wandering or his energy drifting if something or someone interesting comes along. This doesn't mean he will definitely be unfaithful, but keeping his interest can take extra effort.
Will he be jealous, suspicious, and try to control you?
He isn't overly possessive or the type to act jealous and controlling. He's more likely to stay busy with his own interests rather than keep track of what you're doing all the time. He doesn't waste energy on suspicion or controlling your choices, so you'll have your space and freedom.
This guy says he is protective in a good way. Is he actually just being possessive?
No, his protective side isn't really about being controlling. In fact, he's not the type to step in and manage your life or make decisions for you just to show he cares. If he says or does something protective, it's likely without much deep emotion or control behind it.
Now, onto the topic of kids and how this guy will be as a father. If you guys have kids, will he make you do most of the work?
He's not likely to see parenting as a true team effort. Most of the everyday tasks and emotional work with the kids will probably fall on you unless you clearly ask him for help. He doesn't naturally notice what needs to be done or take the lead on chores or routines.
Kids are very messy. Will he lose his temper with them?
When the kids mess up or get upset, he usually stays calm and doesn't explode with anger. He's not one to yell or punish harshly, but he also might not step in to comfort or guide them either. Instead, he may go quiet, act distant, or leave you to handle the situation.
If you guys have kids, will he still support your career?
He is unlikely to stand in your way or make you feel guilty about being your own person, but don't expect much active support or encouragement either. He's usually wrapped up in his own world and doesn't focus much on your challenges or wins, whether as a mom or in personal pursuits. While he won't put you down or criticize your choices, he also won't celebrate your achievements or step up to make things easier for you.
Will this man say one thing early on, maybe while dating, and then later after kids and marriage change his tune and try to make you give up your career?
No, he's not the kind of man who will strongly support your career now and then suddenly pressure you to quit after you have a child. In truth, he doesn't pay much attention to your career choices at all and isn't likely to make big demands or changes based on family situations. He's usually focused on himself and won't get very involved in your decisions about work or motherhood.
Next, let's see how this guy treats your parents. Will he be respectful with your parents?
He's not naturally warm or affectionate, so with your parents, he's likely to stick to basic politeness without going the extra mile. He may greet them or show up when needed, but don't expect him to put in much effort to build a close bond or show deep care. His actions may seem distant or a bit formal rather than genuinely loving. He isn't the type to make big efforts to fit in with your family, nor will he openly demand that they change for him.
What if your family creates stress or interferes a bit in your lives?
If your family creates stress or interferes, he will usually handle it by pulling back or going quiet, rather than reacting loudly or making a scene. He's not the type to escalate arguments or stir up drama, but he also won't step in to calm things down or work for peace. His way of coping is to distance himself and let you deal with the stress on your own.
Then let's analyze the role this guy's family will play in your life. Is this man modern with you, but a completely different person when other people, say his parents or bosses, are around?
He doesn't have strong ideas about how you should behave, either at home or in front of his family. He's not likely to demand that you act like a traditional, supportive wife just for show, and he won't put much effort into managing his own image with relatives either. If you want open mindedness, you'll get it, but without real support.
If there is tension between you and his parents, will he support you?
If there's tension between you and his family, he will most likely stay out of it rather than step in or take sides. He isn't one to get deeply involved or speak up for you, even when you need backing. Instead, he might act distant or pretend nothing is wrong, letting you handle things on your own.
Say you have a conflict with his mother. What will this guy do?
He isn't a typical mummy's boy who blindly follows his mother or places her above everyone else. However, don't expect him to choose your side or actively support you in a conflict with his mother either. Instead, he's likely to stay out of the argument altogether, keeping his distance and avoiding trouble.
Will he share all the private details of your relationship with his mother or sister?
He isn't the type to share every detail of your fights or your private life with his mother or sister. He tends to keep things to himself and doesn't turn to others for advice or comfort, even during tough times. While you might wish he'd open up and talk things through with someone helpful, his private nature means your personal matters usually stay between you two.
Now let's zoom out and put it all together.
So that's the story. This guy scores a C. In many important ways, this guy is falling short of the standard we would want. Being with this man day in and day out means living with someone who stays busy and does his own thing, but doesn't pay much attention to emotional needs or small details that matter to you. He isn't openly harsh, but can feel distant, distracted, and hard to reach, especially when you need support or understanding.